Well, my first reaction to this, seeing it was on TikTok, was like, wow, who filmed this and posted it? But it was literally Brandon Aiyuk who filmed it himself. I don't know if he was actually doing the filming, but he certainly did the posting, clearly sending a message to his former teammate and maybe everyone that in his mind, the 49ers don't want him. But they do want him. They just want him at their price. It is not a negotiation, to my knowledge, that has been completely dead. They just have not done a deal yet. And it's pretty clear that Brandon Aiyuk wants the kind of money that Amon-Ra St. Brown ended up making, about $28 million average over the first 3 years of his deal. The 49ers are not there yet. They like him. They really like him. They just have not been able to come together on a deal. So maybe that's kind of the feeling that Brandon Aiyuk was trying to give out.
All right, two other skill position players looking to get paid, Brandon Aiyuk, and we use quotes because we work with a lot of offensive linemen, and Brandon Aiyuk and Alvin Kamara. Jeremy, what's the latest with their situations? Let's start with Aiyuk out in San Francisco.
Yeah, so Aiyuk and the 49ers have negotiated, but things have stalled a bit, which is somewhat common for this time of year. They're going to see what happens over the next 6 weeks leading into training camp. The 49ers want Aiyuk long-term in the fold, but so far they have not been willing to show that they're going to meet the market of wide receiver, which we're seeing these massive numbers. Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit, $30 million. Justin Jefferson well above that. Aiyuk believes he's a top guy, and so something's got to give. And so he's worked himself into a top 10 receiver conversation. We'll see. Not a lot of momentum there right now, not a lot of optimism.
Those two voices that you just heard were Ian Rappaport and Jeremy Fowler, both NFL insiders for their respective companies. And obviously, with the Brandon Aiyuk video that was posted to his TikTok today, obviously has been the leading story amongst all NFL stories because it becomes a high-profile situation. Brandon Aiyuk wanting a contract extension, the wide receiver market exploding, and of course, it seems that there is a bit of an impasse in this kind of negotiation, and then you have Brandon Aiyuk taking to social media, and you kind of saw Ian Rappaport's reaction. He was like, who posted this? And he was like, oh, it was Brandon Aiyuk who posted this, because the point in which that I think Ian Rappaport is emphasizing is like, typically those types of things and those types of conversations you don't want to let and go public for kind of some of the reasons that we've been seeing. But as we know, it does appear part of the process in regards to the negotiation for Brandon Aiyuk. So as we continue to watch this stuff play out, it's going to continue to play out until the deal gets done. Now, I do think that what Ian Rappaport and Jeremy Fowler are trying to like really indicate is that the 49ers are still wanting Brandon Aiyuk to be on the team, because obviously with what BA said with the video and everything, the thought process is that, oh, well, the 49ers don't want Brandon Aiyuk. And what Rap Sheet is saying is, well, like, the 49ers do want Brandon Aiyuk. They just don't want him at the current price tag that he's looking for. That's the difference, is they want him. And so I think that's just basically where we're at, is that we're just at an impasse over the amount of this new negotiated contract. So what we will continue to see are these things play out back and forth until both sides decide to come together and continue to negotiate and try to get this thing taken care of. Until then, I would imagine we're going to still hear these reports from these NFL insiders. We're still going to see social media stuff on the Aiyuk side. So that's just how the par for the course has been for this entire negotiation. And I imagine that's how it's going to continue moving on. So all we can really do is wait. Now you have the majority of the NFL speculating that Brandon Aiyuk could be had by trade. Obviously, Steelers fans are just chomping at the bit to trade for Brandon Aiyuk. They have been on this all offseason. Obviously, when Brandon Aiyuk tweeted directly at Mike Tomlin, that kind of stirred it up a little bit. But since that moment, the Steelers contingency, the content creators, reporters, fans, all just have like really rallied around the idea of trading for Brandon Aiyuk to be a wide receiver opposite of George Pickens, because the Steelers need another wide receiver. So that has become a very popular target amongst Steelers fans. So that will continue. So as long as these negotiations continue to kind of play out in the public eye, that's what's going to happen. And I even pulled 49er fans just to kind of get a sense of how they're feeling about these contract negotiations. And so this is, at least up until this point, I made this post earlier in the day. This is where everyone kind of appears to be at in regards to these contract negotiations. So 5 hours ago, I had posted, are you concerned about the current status of Brandon Ayuk's contract negotiation with the 49ers? And I just gave a bunch of different options just to see what people would say. We have nearly 7,000 votes on this, and 12% say I have anxiety. 31% say I'm a little concerned. 26% say not concerned at all. 19% are saying they're starting to get annoyed, while the other 12% are just fully annoyed by this situation. So I feel like these options like fully capture the range of emotions that 49er fans feel about this situation, because there's either anxiety on one hand, or people are just starting to get kind of annoyed with how this situation is playing out in the media, and you're getting everything in between. Sprinkle in the fans from other fan bases that are trying to trade for this guy and Brandon Ayuk, and it's a perfect cluster of conversation. It's guarantee you go over to the Steelers side of YouTube, there's a ton of videos. Should the 49ers trade? Or should the Steelers trade for Brandon Ayuk? Go to the Commanders side of things. Should the Commanders trade for Brandon Ayuk? Team him up with Jaden Daniels. So that's just where we're at. And I expect to see more of this. But I do believe at the end of the day, the 49ers do want Brandon Ayuk, and Brandon Ayuk wants to be a 49er. I believe both those things to be true. They just are apart in regards to what that looks like from a dollar figure. And obviously, the hope is the closer we get to training camp, the closer that gap gets, and we can agree to terms and move beyond this. But until then, expect more of this public display and every other fan base trying to trade for Brandon Ayuk. What did you guys think about what the insiders had to say? What is your thoughts? Are you concerned? Do you have anxiety? Or you think there's nothing wrong? We're good to go? Kind of like those options in the poll. Drop your answers in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.